You know, I was never a huge fan of the fighting game genre. I didn't mind them in my early childhood, but I preferred platformers instead. That all changed on Christmas 2012 when I unwrapped Mortal Kombat Armageddon for the PlayStation 2. And I loved this game, and so did my sisters too, who weren't even fans of blood and gore. This game instantly got me hooked to the Mortal Kombat series. The following years, I played Mortal Kombat 3 for the Sega Genesis and Mortal Kombat 9 for the PS3 and later the Xbox 360. And Mortal Kombat vs. DC if that counts. All of these games I really liked. Yes, that includes Mortal Kombat vs. DC, and as soon as I got my PS4 on Christmas morning in 2015, Mortal Kombat X was my most anticipated game to get. Soon after, I finally got Mortal Kombat X, and I was blown away by it. So naturally, 4 months ago, I decided to revisit the game to see if I still liked it as much, and to train myself for the upcoming Mortal Kombat 11. Upon doing so, however, I did notice a few flaws of the game. So, what did this game do right? What did it do wrong? Well, let's take a look at Mortal Kombat X. So, upon entering the main menu of Mortal Kombat X, you'll see a lot of things carried over from the previous installment. A full story mode, which I'll judge on its own later. The ladders come back, obviously. The online makes a return, and so does the crypt. Sadly though, they have taken out Test to Your Might and Tag Team Combat. Two features from the last game I really enjoyed and was sad to see go. And once you really think about it, this game is way shorter in content than the last game. While the last story mode has 16 chapters, this one only has 12. While the last game had 26 playable characters, this one has 25. And the removing of Tag Team mode basically removed a whole layer of online. So while not a lot of content is missing, it's still somewhat underwhelming because with a sequel you're always supposed to expect more, not less. Now let's get into towers, which is kind of the staple of the Mortal Kombat franchise. Pretty good this time a while. You can either play the traditional towers or some others with a twist to it. This game also supports regular training and fatality training from the last game. The online has the same modes from the last game, but with the tag team online combat being taken out as mentioned prior. Test Your Luck makes a triumphant return along with a new mode called Team Combat. I have yet to play it because the player base for it is non-existent. King of the Hill comes back, and it's still fun to make fun of the tryhards who infest that mode, and a lot of others which I am too lazy to mention. But enough of such dumb, useless things such as content. Let's get into the actual combat. So with 25 characters, with some being returning fan favorites such as Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Johnny Cage, we got some new fighters like the Vora, Kotal Khan, and the Combat Kids, the offsprings and relatives of fighters like Liu Kang, Sonya, Kenshi, Johnny, and others. The game is packed with alternative feature called variations. If you choose a character, that character will have a different moveset and slightly altered costumes. It's not a completely awful idea, however, I would prefer if instead of variations, the fighters all had all their movesets in the game. It'd be awesome to see every fighter with an extraordinary plethora of moves at the player's disposal. Now, time for the gameplay. The character controls pretty well for the most part, and it's easy to maneuver around. Juggling your opponent is still fairly easy to do for experienced players, and it's just as satisfying as ever. However, sometimes you will find yourself trying to block and it won't block for some reason. I don't know, it's weird. And there are some cheap characters that I do have a bone to pick with. Those characters being Liu Kang, Jason, who is a DLC character in the final boss of both the story and ladder, Corrupted Shinnok. Liu Kang for his bicycle kick and his rapid punch attack, Jason for his cheap machete throw, and Corrupted Shinnok for this move alone. There are unlockable moves characters can do, unblockable moves which characters can do, which sucks. But what about the finishers? The finishers are back and better than ever. You have standard fatalities, which are awesome and gorier than the last game, classic fatalities, which are returning fatalities from previous games, and brutalities, which are both awesome and satisfying to successfully pull off. Sadly, brutalities are gone from the babalities are gone from the last game, but they kind of make up for that with critalities. I have always been furious when I was obliterating an opponent in the last game only to have them rage crit, causing the match to abruptly end. In this game, however, if your opponent crits, their heads explode, and you can get points from that match. That is freaking awesome. So yeah, I think I have covered the majority of the game so far. And this is the second part where I go over in full detail the entire story mode. And note that I did just play this game, and upon doing so, I noticed a lot of flaws with the story. But for those of you who say, well, the story doesn't matter in a fighting game, I have one question for you. If the story didn't matter, then why did NetherRealm bother to put so much effort into it? The story of Mortal Kombat is greatly appreciated because of its complexity and lore, interesting characters, and its originality. So it wouldn't be a stretch to say the Mortal Kombat story is amazing. It requires a lot of care. And after playing this, I sadly have to say, this is the most poorly written Mortal Kombat story we've ever gotten. Other than this one. And that's not a bad thing. The Mortal Kombat stories in each game have either been simple in premise or downright amazing. The problem with this story is that it tries to be complex and build upon the lore. And you know what? I commend NetherRealm for trying. But upon doing so, there were so many issues that reared their ugly face when playing through the story. But there is a lot of cool stuff, and in order to judge the story fairly, I'm going to analyze the entire story with a cool counter and a flaw counter. Think of it as a nostalgia critic meets cinema sense type of format. But without further delay, let's begin. So we begin 2 years after the events of 2 years? Why would Shinnok wait 2 years to invade Earthrealm when he was ready at the end of the last game? Nice of you to give the heroes enough time to rest and get together an entire force just in case this sort of thing happened in the future. So Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade are leading a sky force to the currently invaded city when all crap goes loose. And I love the following sequence. The gruesome death of the pilot, Scorpion slaughtering the soldiers in the helicopter with ease, followed by the 1-on-2 fight between Johnny, Scorpion, and Sub-Zero is awesome. And really well choreographed too. And the quick time events. Trust me, I don't have anything against quick times. I kinda all for them. They allow the player to play the game while also providing a cool spectacle. So why is there a problem here? Because there's no consequences from failing the quick times except for your character, I don't know, getting punched in the face. That kinda makes the entire feature useless. They could have made it to where any damage you sustain during the quick times carry over to the actual fight afterwards, but nah.
Sonya, get out of there!
Nice voice work, Johnny. The next part always bothered me. Just watch. Why didn't you freeze Johnny all the way? You could have done that, then walked over and killed him. Anyways, after Johnny beats up Scorpion and Sub-Zero, the story cuts to Raiden and Fujin battling against NetherRealm demons. I'll admit, that was a pretty cool entrance. And yes, I am aware of Quanchi's treatment in the game, but I'll cover that later. So then we cut back to Sonya and Johnny, followed by a team of soldiers attempting to enter a chamber that's being closely watched by Revelants. Oh, by the way, I hope you guys like this shot of Revelant Nightwolf, because that and 2 other 3-second scenes are all you Nightwolf fans are gonna get. Why does he not have a word of dialogue? Why is he not a playable character, even though he was one of the coolest characters in the last game? I don't know. But brace yourself, because these type of issues take steroids later. So the group obviously gets spotted, and after a brief encounter with Jax, the group uses Kenshi's ancestor power to teleport to the Jinsei, while Raiden and Fujin gets introduced to Shinnok, who also made major appearances in Mortal Kombat 4 and Mortal Kombat Armageddon. And why do we not like Shinnok?
Miserable wretch! Insignificant speck of feculent scum! How dare you!
Yeah, so because he acts like that. By the way, I just realized that Fujin is an unplayable character for some reason, not even DLC. So, yep, that's another flaw. Anyways, Raiden and Fujin are about to get defeated by the amulet Shinnok has in his possession when Johnny and Sonya come to save the day. And the following fight scene is pretty cool because it perfectly sums up how powerful Shinnok is to the point where he's fighting Johnny with one hand. However, the following has got to be the dumbest thing I've ever seen in any Mortal Kombat game.
She will be the first to join me. No! I'm not sure what just happened to me, but I am sure of this. You don't even think of hurting her.
But you don't know what just happened to you? You've done that every single Mortal Kombat game. How in the world have you never seen it happen to you? Stupid plot device that shows up whenever the plot wants Johnny or his offspring to be powerful. But whatever, Shinnok is defeated and Johnny and Sonya are hinted to getting into a future relationship. Then 40 years later, we get introduced to Johnny and his new team referred to as the Kombat Kids. And for the most part, I like these guys. I love how Johnny's nonchalant humor carries over to Cassie while she also exhibits her mother's military mood. She's a really fun character. I like how Jackie has the same cool personality as her dad while also even using weapons similar to his robotic prosthetics. And I love Takedo because not only does he use moves similar to his father's, but he also uses moves from his trainer Scorpion. And Kung Jin, he's alright. I give a cool point for each of these characters. So then we get taken to Outworld where Kota Khan is negotiating with Kano. And we also get introduced to Devora. I know this character has a lot of problems, but I'll get back to that later. Obviously Kano betrays them and tries to kill Kota Khan, and yes, Kota Khan is struggling to fight a arms dealer. What a worthy replacement of Shao Kahn. So after fighting Kano and Tanya, he confronts Rain, and yes, he has a full moveset, a lot of fans like him, and he isn't playable. Why? Ask NetherRealm, cause I don't know. Shoot him, shoot him, shoot him. Never mind. So after Kota Khan defeats Mileena, she then pulls out Shinnok's amulet. And how does she have Shinnok's amulet? You would think Earthrealm would put an artifact that currently contains a fallen Elder God in a secure location that would at least be secure enough to keep out someone like Mileena. So Mileena in these games has been cut back to Johnny preparing his team for a mission on their 6-week anniversary. Wait, what?
As I'm sure you're unaware, judging from the lack of gift cards, today is our team's 6-week anniversary.
Who has a 6-week anniversary? So then the Kombat Kids are tasked with making peaceful terms with the Lin Kuei, who is supposedly on bad terms with them. Due to the team's lack of cooperation, they get caught, and I like the following sequence. I like playing as Sub-Zero and him asking what easily young combatant's stance in the situation is, and the reveal that all of it was a training exercise just adds to his charm. You know what? 6 cool points.
You and your friends show much promise, Cassandra Cage. But until you function as one, you will fall short.
Literally the first thing they do after he says this. Then the group is called to receive orders from Sonya Blade, and when they arrive, Raiden, Sonya, and some girl from the comics are discussing Shinnok's amulet.
You remind me of an Earthrealmer who crossed over with us. He also found humor in everything.
Handsome guy, right?
He was an Earthrealmer. One of his eyes glowed red.
I would love it if it was just some random guy with a red eye.
Kenshi, continue with Li Mei. I'm going to the refugee camp. Gotta get to him before he finds a way out.
I'll come with.
Go get an update on camp security from Colonel Flagg.
Why?
Because then you won't be here.
What have they done to Sonya? She is so rude and intolerable now. She's always being a jerk to her ex-husband and her own daughter. So the Kombat Kids receive orders to go to Outworld to negotiate a temporary agreement to find Shinnok's amulet. That is when we get introduced to the new fan favorite Erron Black. And I get it, he's a cowboy. Who doesn't like cowboys? But he does nothing. And there's another character that falls into this category that I'll address later. So he leads them to Outworld when they see a bread thief getting put to death. Kung Jin takes offense to this and risks sparking a war over a bread thief he doesn't even know. After fighting Erron Black, we get introduced to a fun-sized leader riding on a two-armed Goro. And yes, this character does nothing too. Kung Jin beats them, but him and his group get surrounded. Kung Jin gets rightfully called out by his teammates, but he uses this as a segue to show the audience a flashback. Kung Jin went to go steal a family heirloom that was being held in Raiden's possession, but he doesn't realize he's stealing from a god. So he obviously gets caught and has to fight with Raiden, but then quickly refrains himself, and then the game surprisingly gets rise for a second.
Go to the Wuxi Academy. Join the Shaolin, like Kung Lao before you.
I can't. They won't accept.
They care only about what is in your heart, not whom your heart desires.
And no, that's never mentioned again. For those of you who are unaware, it turns out Kung Jin is gay. and during my first playthrough of the game, I dismissed the line and never noticed he was. That's really a breath of fresh air. It's nice to have being gay a character trait and not the main focus of said character. You know what? Good on you, NetherRealm. So then Kotal Khan comes by and decides to execute them when this happens.
Kotal Khan, under Outworld law, I claim the right of defense. By combat.
What? You're gonna fight a duel?
To absolve us of all accusations. Denying the request brings dishonor upon the accuser.
So why was Shao Kahn never challenged then? You're telling me no one went to Outworld to challenge Shao Kahn directly? That would have been way simpler than a tournament. And how has someone never challenged Kotal Khan? Is he undefeated? The people at Outworld are really weak when this Kotal Khan struggled to fight a arms dealer. And yes, somehow Kung Jin wins. How is this guy Emperor? So Kung Jin demands Outworld service and we cut back to Sonya.
Raiden, what'd you find?
Shinnok's amulet has been stolen, replaced by an exquisite duplicate.
Damn it.
Something is wrong. I will speak to you once I...
Raiden? Raiden! Lieutenant, I need you to take a team to Fort Charles. Check in with Raiden and report back.
Wow, that was weird. You wanna know what else is weird? We never know what that was about, nor what happened to the two soldiers who went to go check on it. So after a brief heated argument between her and Johnny, we get a flashback that takes place 25 years earlier. Johnny, Sonya, and Raiden are entering Quan Chi's hideout to capture him when they run into a couple of Revenants, and after defeating them, Johnny is injured. How does this make sense? Whenever a Revenant is created, they get to choose their new appearance, so what's the point of this process if they just chose what they look like later? And is this how every Revenant is born? That's a little overcomplicated. I bet the pool was really overcrowded when everyone was killed by Sindel. So then Sonya beats the crap out of Quan Chi. If that happened during gameplay, that would make sense, but this is an interactive cutscene, so how is Quan Chi's jaw not broken? The sorcerer of NetherRealm, everyone. Getting his face stomped in by an Earthrealm mortal. And then watch this. So since Quan Chi is weakened, all the Revenants in the room, including Johnny, are safe. How does that make sense? I don't know. So then we cut back to the present where Sonya, Johnny, and Kenshi successfully find Kano. Why did Kano show up to a refugee camp that is currently being guarded by Earthrealm warriors, including a psychic who can sense people's real identity? I don't know. So Sonya beats the crap out of him and we cut back to Outworld. Cassie and Navora locate where Melina might be, and instead of bringing an entire squad, they bring Cassie and Navora, two people who don't even trust each other, are tasked with finding an amulet containing a fallen elder god. We also get treated to a flashback where Kotal Khan is convincing Navora and Reptile to help him rule Outworld when Melina and Baraka step in and stop this foul mutiny. So it's combat time, and Navora is honored with killing Baraka, who is a fan favorite. Did they steal Navora's character from some fanfiction website? Melina is for some reason not killed and she is imprisoned. We cut back to the present and Navora and Cassie fight Rain, Tanya, and then finally Melina. Melina is captured and NetherRealm gives the honor of killing Melina to Navora. Yay! Then Kotal Khan betrays the combat kids and keeps them alive to bait Raiden into coming here so they can kill him. But why can't you just kill the combat kids and lie and say they're fine? I mean, Kenshi could probably sense it, but he doesn't know that. Then we cut back to Jax, who has now retired from the whole combat shindig, and I like this heartfelt reunion between Jax, Sonya, and Johnny. It's pretty nice. And we follow that up with another great scene of the combat kids just talking. I can't help it, the dialogue in this game is surprisingly really nice. Then we get a flashback of Takeda training with Scorpion, when Kenshi comes to have a chat with his son he hasn't seen in 20 years. And this obviously doesn't go well with Takeda attacking him. So then a guard comes down and gives them rags, food. 2 years later, I still don't know. And then Takeda uses the force to overload the guard's senses and they all run out. At the same convenient time, Reptile, Ermac, and Eren Black arrives. After a fight, we cut back to Jax, who is in a NetherRealm looking for Quan Chi, and we see these things. I don't care how minor their roles are in this game, they look freaking awesome. Adding one cool point. After a brief confrontation with some relevance, Jax finds Liu Kang and Quan Chi. And I love the sequence of Liu Kang. The cool red flaming skulls, how his monologue about how destructive he thinks Raiden is. It's a really good sequence. So after he beats both of these peoples and not apprehend Liu Kang for some reason, they return to the refugee camp where the Shiva Ryu are also seemingly paying them a visit. And it's not a friendly one.
General,
Master Hisashi, I hadn't received word you were coming.
I will have Quan Chi.
We have things under control. You can...
He must die.
Raiden needs him. Without Quan Chi, we can't restore Liu Kang and the other Revenants. You'd leave them trapped? Like you were?
Only Quan Chi concerns me.
Yep, Scorpion is willing to have all the Revenants stay trapped forever, also he can get his revenge as soon as possible. How does he go from a wise mentor who supposedly matured over the years back to a bloodthirsty psychopath who will stop at no expense to kill Quan Chi? Even the old timeline Scorpion was more mature than this. So after fighting Sonya and Johnny, we cut back to Scorpion and oh my god. Can someone tell me why Scorpion is having tea with Sub-Zero? I'm all for these two rivals establishing peace and ending their 10-year rivalry, but this is just too extreme. So Frost tries to kill Scorpion, who tries to kill Sub-Zero, but Sub-Zero is like, hey, stop that. And then Scorpion finds out Quan Chi was manipulating him. Cut back to where Scorpion finds Quan Chi.
My name is Hanzo Hasashi! You killed my wife, my son, and then you burrowed your way into my head, misdirected my vengeance, cost me my one chance to have them restored!
And that was awesome. So Scorpion beats the crap out of Quan Chi when Devora appears to save the day. Awesome. And even more awesome. Then Quan Chi summons Shinnok before getting killed off by Scorpion. Why have you not been doing that the entire game? If the amulet is so powerful, if it can incapacitate your opponents for hours, why not just use that as your default move? So our smart evil mastermind makes another smart decision and leaves everyone alive and only takes Johnny captive. Why? Do you realize these are the same people who imprisoned you at the start of the game? Kill them! Capture them! Something! This supposed elder god is more incompetent than Shao Kahn was in the game prior. So the Kombat kids find their parents and Scorpion, who has also revealed where Shinnok is taking Johnny. If only you hadn't left everyone alive to reveal your location, Shinnok. We cut back to Raiden, a cool character, having a chat with Bo Right Cho, a not so cool character. Why is Bo Right Cho in the game? Literally everyone who played the PS2 Mortal Kombat hated this guy. We also get a flashback of Raiden, Liu Kang, and Kung Lao back in Mortal Kombat 9, and they retconned Devora in the events of Mortal Kombat 9. Do they realize by doing that they retconned her in the original timeline as well? She was working for Shao Kahn too. Why didn't he ask her to be in any tournaments? Why wasn't she in Armageddon? This is what happens when you retcon without thinking of the implications that might come with that. After the brief flashback, Raiden goes to the Jinsei, but Shinnok shows up and I guess kills Bo Right Cho? Jesus, even Netherrealm hates this character. Shinnok leaves for the Jinsei, and Raiden fights Kung Lao and Liu Kang, and it's not as emotional as I thought it would be. In fact, the dialogue here is kind of cliche. So Raiden gets captured by Shinnok and is not killed straight away. Pretty sure that won't bite you in the butt later, Shinnok. So the sky turns red and Shinnok gets a pretty cool design. And we cut back to the Kombat kids who land in a giant forest. Good thing everyone is still breathing, otherwise we'd have to call Logan Paul here and the Outward Forces teleport here to kill the Kombat kids.
What are they doing here?
Looking for the amulet, I bet.
We have to tell them about Shinnok. Call a truce.
Bring them to me!
Or not. The woods. Come on.
That wasn't a cut I made. I have no idea how they lost them that fast. So then Ermac comes to kill the Kombat kids, and I love this cool chasing they have. It's pretty cool. So after fighting the Outward Forces, Kotal Kahn comes to talk with the Kombat kids.
Reed, he's at Raiden's Sky Temple. He's already infected Earthrealm's life force.
The heavens boil.
Did it seriously take you this long to realize the sky was red?
Earthrealm is lost.
Not if we hang together.
I will appease Shinnok. Bring him your heads. Gain time to bolster Outworld's defenses.
This guy either is or more incompetent than Shinnok. So Sub-Zero saves the day and the Combat Kids go to the Jinsei where all the Revenants are doing an amazing job at guarding the place. The Combat Kids get spotted and they all start fighting.
Has your mother ever told you what I did to her friends? Killed them all in the blink of an eye.
What? You know what? She's right. This woman killed off almost all of the Mortal Kombat 9 cast single-handedly in a minute. Why isn't she showing off her power here? And yes, Cassie somehow wins. You know what? I don't care anymore. So Cassie enters the now corrupted Jinsei where she sees her father getting tortured. After fighting Devora, Shinnok is about to kill Cassie, but then the green glowy thing from earlier appears around her. And not only does she beat him, but she beats him without getting so much as wounded. Whew, wow. So the game ends and it's a yay, happy ending, except it's not, and Raiden is now going to kill the crap out of any potential threats to Earthrealm. And admittedly a really cool post-credit scene. Yay. So yeah, that was Mortal Kombat X's story, and what a mess. There were a lot of cool things in here, and at least an entertaining story, but there's so many flaws, it makes my head spin. I am glad it exists though, but there is a lot of room for improvement down the line. So yeah, that was my review of Mortal Kombat X, and yes, it's a good game. However, it's not perfect. The story mode is an entertaining experience, but it's filled with a lot of errors. The variations sometimes limit the fighters, a select few characters are just plain cheap, and the online could use just a bit more content to spice things up. So what would I like to see in Mortal Kombat 11? I would like a story with more chapters, rewarding quick time events, and less story errors. I would like a better implementation for variations, a bigger roster of characters, and to see more game modes in both online and single player. By the time I'm recording this, I've only seen the cinematic reveal at the Game Awards and the first gameplay showcase, and right now, some of the stuff I asked for seems really unlikely. So that's Shaggy for freaking Mortal Kombat 11, come on, put him in there! But if NetherRealm does even half the stuff I mentioned, then I'm confident Mortal Kombat 11 will be a worthy sequel and a fun game. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys in next time. Peace.